Want to talk about the interview?
This is our great chat with JJ Pinestone. We got to find out the origins of that name as well as his own record label. What a great guy. Such a great guitar player. And we get to find out more about the making of this album and his other band as well.
He answers the question, which is harder to play, thrash metal or plain old rock and roll? Take it away.
Tell me about the music scene in Finland. Is it supportive? Is it competitive or kind of both?
Uh, I would say actually more competitive than supportive. There's always, I don't know if the saying comes from Finland, this classic "don't quit your day job" kind of thing. That's the most usual thing that I've heard. I've been putting out albums with TAKALAITON before, but like every single time, if you put something new out, everybody is like, "Oh yeah, this was good stuff, good stuff," but don't stop your day job because that's the only thing you're gonna need. And I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah, you
Oh,
gotta
that's
love
funny.
the advice.
But I would say it's more competitive than supportive, unfortunately.
Really? Yeah.
The countryside looks so lovely from the pictures. What's your family's ranch and what's the business there?
Well, the countryside, basically is really close to my heart because I'm a country boy myself. I never liked, staying in the cities. Like a lot of my friends and also some ex-bandmates have moved to Helsinki, but I can't think a single reason to move there because, everything is, doable from this side of fucking Finland also. But actually, my manager said that it would be easier to align you with people involved in the music business if you were in Helsinki. And
Right.
but I said to him also, but yeah, never gonna happen because the countryside is where I feel like home.
Yeah.
It's weird. Do you know the amount of artists that we've talked to who live in the middle of nowhere, like Joanna from Lucifer, middle of nowhere. Uh,
John from
John from Black Braid.
no, John from Hammers of
Yeah.
Oh,
Misfortune.
both of them.
Yeah.
Both of
Yeah.
them. Middle of nowhere. I mean,
Yeah.
John from Black Braid lives in like the freaking Ozarks.
Yeah. And
Actually,
yeah.
my dream is to live on a place, where you can watch your nearest neighbor with binoculars.
Yeah.
Our only problem with that is we always seem to be forgetting things at the store. It's different if the store's an hour and a half away and you just realized you forgot
Yeah.
butter.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna be like, I'm not gonna need that.
Yeah. So how do you coordinate like practicing with the band and stuff with you being so remote? Or do they all live close to you, or do you just have to drive in a lot, or what?
Yes, every single one of us live in the same town, and
Oh, cool.
for now, because at the summertime we did one concert which actually had the material on the Run video. That was the only concert this year, but next year we're gonna play a whole bunch of shows, but I can't spoil them yet.
Okay.
But it's pretty easy actually to organize the practicing because I have two guitar stacks. One is for Takalaiton, that's a full-blown metal amp, and I have a Marshall stack for the rock and roll bits. So it's pretty easy because I can just drop them on the different rehearsal plays, and of course every single guy in the band is having a day job also, but
Yeah.
it's not that hard to organize. Like have like 2 hours off after your work, and if you're willing to do it and put in the work, then you're on. So it's been
Cool.
easy because every single guy in the band has been fully committed to it, and I appreciate that a lot from these guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So which do you find more challenging, the sleazy rock and roll stuff or the thrash metal?
This is a bad one because the both styles have their own hard and easy bits, but I would say for now it's easier to write metal than rock and roll because in metal there's a lot of, I think there's like more twists you can do because rock and roll has been uh, I'm you know kind of a purist in that way because I'm like, you know, rock and roll has to sound like this, and when I'm
Right.
trying to make that sound, I also try my best not to sound like everybody else.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
like there's like usually 3 to 4 chords that you can use on a song, and I do my best to put them in line that it doesn't sound like AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, or anything else, you know, close to
Yeah.
that. So I would say it's harder to make rock and roll than metal. Okay,
Yeah.
there I said it. Somebody's gonna, you know, clip that.
No, I agree with you. I remember when John Christ left Danzig, the guy that replaced him, the guy from Prong, he wasn't nearly
Yes.
he wasn't the rock and roll guy. When he would play live the early Danzig stuff, it didn't sound right. It didn't have that bluesy, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because I always said that, you know, well, of course, somebody else said it first. Like Danzig is like it's like a darker Elvis, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So you got to have that, you know, bluesy Fender style guitar tone.
Yeah.
And if you are a metal player, you have no idea how to play with that Fender tone.
Right. The pinch harmonics and
Yeah.
stuff, it's just not the same. It doesn't sound as good. It just doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's way harder.
Whatever happened to John Christ? You know, like whatever happened to that guy? He
No,
like just
no idea.
vanished, you know.
Yeah, I haven't heard that, you know, he would go anywhere else. The last time I've heard the name, it was with Danzig.
Yeah. I would have thought that he would have, you know, joined in with a better known act or something, you know. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
even if he's like Beyonce's backup guitarist or something, you know, you would think.
yeah. I actually, you know, after the interview, I have to Google that because I
Mhm.
want to know what happened to this guy, you know. I haven't even thought about it.
What happened? Yeah, yeah.
So I thought it was interesting your choice of monikers. But I'm going to kill the name of your other band, but it kind of translates to outlawed. Is that a term?
TAKALAITON. Yeah, it's actually a term of the Finnish version of baseball called pesäpallo, which literally translates to baseball. So
Okay.
takalaiton means when you hit the ball over the edge of the field. That's a takalaiton, you know, like over the bounce.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well, Google Translate had me off. It said outlawed when I put it in there.
You can't always
yeah,
count on Google Translate. Yeah.
Yeah, because I actually saw this one time. I don't know if we were playing in it was some Eastern European country, but they had translated the name, and it was actually pretty literal. It said reverse illegals, and you know, taka means behind or reverse, and laiton is illegal.
Okay.
So close enough.
Yeah.
So where did you come up with you know, JJ Pinestone? Was that a nickname, or how did you arrive at that?
Yeah, it's actually both, because Pinestone means Mäntykivi, and Mäntykivi is my last name. Mänty is a pine tree, and kivi means rock or a stone.
Oh, okay.
And JJ is the name that I've been called as a kid when I was like 5 to 8 years old, I think. I remember my stepmom calling me JJ at some point, you know, like on occasional times. And, you know, at later I was like, that's actually a pretty cool name. JJ Pinestone, that sounds like a rock and roller. So
Yeah,
that's
it's a
going to
good
be
one.
my name from now on. Yeah, that's going to
Yeah.
be my stage name from now on. You know?
I like it. Yeah. So, was it a bad experience or some other factors that led you to make your own label, or was it just because you wanted to be controlling of everything, or what?
Yes, because oh my God, I was actually pretty nervous at first. I was like, you know, why the fuck did I start it? Because I have no idea how to roll a label. But after that, when the first singles came out, and I was like, you know, okay, I know something of this, because we actually had a label deal with TAKALAITON from Rockshot Records. They're from Italy, and there was some things, I'm not gonna name anything, but there's some things that I don't agree with the usual, you know, record deal. So I was like, you know, okay, if I'm gonna make a solo album, it has to be a good label deal. So I got 3 offers, and every single offer had that, you know, this doesn't sound fair or right. And you know, I was like, okay, let's do it. You know, like, here goes nothing. I'm gonna put on my old label and let's see where it's gonna take me. for now, everything seems cool. But I've had to learn a lot about the business side, and well, of course, it's a real business, so you're gonna have to learn a lot of things. But also, I love the feeling that I'm in control of everything, and nothing happens unless I decide so.
Yeah.
Would you
So
sign
I
other
would-
bands?
Maybe in the future, but for now, actually, I've gotten a lot of guys. A couple of great death metal bands from our town have said that, hey, you gotta sign us, and I was like, I'd love to sign you, but I'm not sure if I can do anything extra for you that you can do by yourself now. So I don't want to, be that guy who signs bands and, pay me this, pay me that, and, do practically nothing from them. Because I said that, of course, if you can't find any else to release your album, of course I'm gonna help you, but I can only do these things that I've done to myself, and you can actually see the results. If they satisfy you, of course, but if you can find better, we could go for it.
Yeah.
So maybe in the future, but not for now, I gotta say. I have full job, releasing my own.
Yeah.
And we talked to the guy who founded Tank Crimes, and back in the day, he really needed to raise money, and pot was still illegal back then, and he actually had a whole field that he grew and sold to get that album, to get that label up and
Yeah.
running.
Yeah. He went
Well,
from
of
pot
course.
dealer to label owner. Yep.
Yeah. Well, there's something related to that, but of course, because I'm in Finland, I'm not gonna say it. So, but yeah, the album costs were kind of huge, but with your day job and every other business, you can manage it.
Yeah, we're very DIY people, just with the show and everything.
Yeah.
She was just telling me this morning she had a dream last night that I went out to get a plumber. I would have fixed it myself. I would have never gone for a plumber. So
Yeah.
the
So
dream
that was a mark that, okay, I'm dreaming because you were getting a plumber.
yeah, because I would never.
I think
So
2 Christmases ago, you were taking the kitchen sink apart.
yeah. So yeah, we try to do everything ourselves just because of the way we're wired, And then if we absolutely can't, like I tried to do HVAC for a while and I gave up on that because as soon as they
Yeah.
started asking about how many pounds of air per square inch, I was like, all right, this is beyond me.
Yeah.
I don't-
Yeah.
I got to go to school
But
for this shit, So
Yeah. But the main thing is, I'm a lot of, like DIY type myself, because usually everything I have to do, only thing that I leave to the professionals is my dog's veterinary, bills, because
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not a doctor myself. And, like every single thing, if something is malfunctioning, or, if it is the car or my house, something, I'm gonna try first of all to do it myself, because usually I'm that poor that I can't hire anyone to do it.
Well, yeah, plus you always feel like you're being taken advantage of. Like, I don't know how it is in Finland, but in the United States, if you call a plumber for a small leak, he'll tell you he's got to rip the whole wall out for like $4,000,
It is the same in here,
Is it the same? Okay.
Yes, it is. I work myself as a roofer in Finland, and I've been, literally forced to do a lot of things that I wouldn't want for the customer, because there's like small leak on the roof, and I'm like, okay, it's fixable, but my boss is like, how about you try to ask him if we would do the whole roof? I'm like, why? And he's like, yeah. And he would be like, no, well, then we can give the warranty and these kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, so you can't give a warranty for a repair, but you can give a warranty for a new roof. So like, I was like, you're a fucking crook, dude.
Yeah, I know. It's in the US, I don't know if you guys do this. They leave little handwritten signs in your mailbox that say how shitty your roof is. Like, this is
they do?
bad,
Yeah.
this drainage is bad. So you feel, as soon as you
No
get it, you
way.
feel bad,
They're like, selling it even without contacting you.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. I
That's how
didn't
they
know
do
that,
it.
actually.
So tell me,
But it's-
did you
yeah.
do the cover shot here? I love the palm trees. Was that kind of green screened in, or were you somewhere?
It's actually done on this one guy's living room. This artwork artist, Kimmo Sormunen, great guy. he did every single piece. I only had the idea for this cover shot. I was like, it has to be somewhere warm, something like Miami, and it has to have a C4 Corvette in it because that's my for me that is the car.
Yeah.
And he came up with an idea, and I was like, okay, maybe a little shadier, and he actually finished this really quick because we had a great touch. Like we both know what we wanted, and he did everything else. The only thing like real on that picture is my back, and he did everything else around it.
That's great.
And it turned out great.
Yeah, I instantly got like an LA vibe.
Yeah, Sunset Strip. That was my first thought.
I was like, if we flip over, is it going to be Tawny Katane on the car behind?
Yeah. I was actually the idea was something like I was like, maybe we could combine like GTA Vice City or Miami Vice style, with something modern rock and roll, and I think we nailed it.
Yeah. The thing is, like, when you go back and you watch those videos from the 80s, like Kiss and Whitesnake and stuff with the sexy girls in it, there's way too much of the men in the videos. Like, I watched Tawny Katane and I'm like, get the band out of there. I should have more of her,
Yeah, because the main thing is that, we've seen the band before. There's no need to see it again.
Yeah, bring the girls back, yeah.
Yes,
totally. Yeah.
because back in the day, they were smoking.
Yeah. I noticed that trend. I didn't notice in the 80s, but now I'm like, God, I don't want to see the band. What are you doing?
Yeah, the girls with the big hairs
Bring
and
the
the dresses.
girls.
Yeah.
So I noticed you and Mark have something in common. You have the exact same Motorhead tattoo in the exact same place.
Yes, we do.
That's true. And actually, because
hold on. Right there.
Same
it's on the right. Oh,
yeah, on the right. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, there it is. Yep, right there. Yep, got it. Yep.
You guys were scared that I'm gonna pull my dick in the camera.
Oh, that's funny.
So obviously they're a big influence on you as well. I also hear a lot of new wave of British heavy metal in your sound, but there's so much in there that makes you just kind of an original blend.
Yeah.
Who do people compare your music to most often, and do you agree or disagree with some of those comparisons?
Mostly what I've heard, actually my band's bass player Sami said that, this music sounds like it came from Sweden, like something like from Heat or the Swedish rock and roll bands. I was like, okay, that's a good thing because Swedish rock bands sound they sound amazing. But a lot of people have said that, there's a lot of Guns N' Roses vibes, probably actually on my vocals because there's this high raspy vocals. But yeah, and so some have said that, Def Leppard sound is also there. I don't know how, but I'm grateful for it if it is.
Yeah, they're all good compliments. Yeah.
So for your vocal style, did you have to change anything? Because your delivery is kind of like the thrash, but a little lighter. Did you consciously change anything, or?
Yes, consciously a little bit. I was well, usually when you record metal in the studio, it's like, full throttle all the way. But now in the studio, there was like, there's parts where you go full throttle, but on some parts, like usually pre-chorus parts are always like, okay, drop it down a notch, to get more of that clean sound, and it has to sound different because I don't like. I actually there's been at least 2 songs that I've recorded again completely because the vocals were too like heavy.
Yeah.
It has to have some kind of a different type of notch on that singing, but it has to sound like me also. So it was a lot of swinging back and forth because I tried my best to sound me, but not to sound the same as in TAKALAITON.
Yeah, I like that you kept a lot of the rasp though.
Yeah, because it feels familiar for me, and singing completely clean, it wouldn't sound good because it wouldn't be I wouldn't be at home at that place.
Yeah.
So how in the world did you come to have a Jim Beam guitar?
That's a question that I've gotten a lot, but you have to surf the net to find these things. I actually, there's this website in Finland called muusikoiden.net, and it's musicians.net, and there's this kind of a flea market where everybody sells their stuff. And I remember this guitar came there, and I was like, oh my God, I never seen that. And in the next day, it was vanished. I was like, fuck, I missed it. But then I go onto eBay to search the market, and I found this one. And I was like, that's expensive as fuck, but I gotta have it. and then it came. I can't remember in which part of the world it came. It came from Europe, but from the internet, it was expensive as fuck. And actually, my friend in TAKALAITON, other guitarist, said that how can you take this on a concert? I would be so scared it would go broken or something. But I was like, you have to deal with guitars as a tool. It's not you don't buy them to hang on these walls only. If it goes broken, then it's gone. Then you have to find a new one. You can't get too attached to them.
So you didn't want to do it. Can't be played ever.
Like Spinal.
Yeah. Well, first of all, when it came, I was like, mint condition. It's a Gibson, but I was like, but remember, it's a tool. You don't, like, be too cautious with it, because it's a tool and it's got to rock. So
yeah.
You ought to get a sponsorship out of them for that.
Yeah, I actually would like to try, because I like all kinds of endorsements. I have only for a pick endorsement and a string endorsement, but a whiskey endorsement would be kick ass.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah.
If you guys know somebody from Jim Beam, give me his address. I have something to offer them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys might be brothers from another mother. He loves a good whiskey. But
Yeah.
what's your
Yes,
favorite
me
one?
too. My favorite ones, I have to say two, because there are whiskeys that you mix in something, and there are whiskeys that you drink straight. I gotta say, I always liked Jim Beam more than Jack, so I would say Jim. But if I drink only the late night whiskey, one whiskey, I would say Glenfiddich. I love it.
We have a local one here called Sagamore that's made right in Baltimore. It's really good.
Nice.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, that really good
Sagamore
local.
rye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that? Interview with Slash when he talks about when he met Lemmy, and Lemmy opened up a fifth of Jack and handed it to him, and he was like, "Okay, so I'll take a sip." And then he realized that Lemmy had a case and he was opening up his own. Everybody was going to have their own fifth.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah. So the whole bottle is for me. Yes, I've heard about
exactly.
it. And I used to be a heavy drinker back in the day, but of course, maybe it's a good thing, because I have so much shit to do now.
Yeah.
It's actually funny. Last time I was drunk was more than a month ago, I think, because we were in Thailand, and when you're in Bangkok, you have to get this one night drunk, because one night in Bangkok and the words wasteland.
All right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. But when it comes to whiskey, actually, I would say drink a lot of it. But on the weekends, I usually drink from 2 to 3 whiskeys. That gives you that. You don't get like buzzed up with it, but you get that warmth that you get from whiskey. Yes, I love it.
Yeah. We were just talking today. For Christmas time, some of our relatives, they like to kind of just be buzzed all day
Like
for the
my
holidays.
kids.
Yeah, like for kids. And I was like, we're too busy for that. You know what I mean? Like I can't. Like I'll start around 5 p.m.
But I'm not having mimosas at 9 a.m.
Like I have stuff I want to get done. I can't.
Yes.
Back maybe when I was a teenager, I could do that, just be drunk all day. But I don't know. Like you said, you got stuff to do. you know.
Yeah, and I have, actually it's funny because when I've, of course I got messages, like Merry Christmas, blah blah blah, from a lot of people, and they were like, I've been drinking since 9 a.m. And I was like, and I was like, you don't have anything to do, you don't
Right.
need to drive or anything, and they were
Exactly.
like,
Got
no.
nothing to do. We got tons of stuff to
Oh,
do. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I have my fiance's parents to meet, I have my own parents to meet, and I was like, don't you have a family or anything? But
I
they
know,
have
it's
a
crazy.
family. But yeah, but the family comes to my apartment, and I was like, okay, cool. So you're just gonna, greet them fucking hammered. So, but who am I
Must
to
be
judge?
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about, you have a lot of great guitar moments on the album. I
Yes.
like for example, Fool's Anthem really jumps out. I love the solo in that one. How do you approach, constructing guitar solos?
I love how you coaxed that squeal out of it too.
Thank you. I love it because the funny thing, this is the first album and actually the first recordings ever of me doing a solo. Because in TAKALAITON, I am a lead vocalist and a rhythm guitar player. I've never written any solos. And of course, when I started to, manufacture the album, I was like, if it's a rock and roll album, you're gonna have to have some solos in it. And I was like, I don't know how to play solos, but let's give it a try. I usually always build a song structure already, and solo is usually the last thing that comes out. And I don't know if it's like theoretically right or anything. I just record anything that sounds or feels good, and you just loop the solo bottom on it, and you just try everything that could feel right. And actually in Fool's Anthem, I thought that because the drums are kind of jumpy, so also the guitars have to be like jumpy, and there has to be stops and big squeals, and I'm glad that they come out on the solo.
Yeah.
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 So basically I always only listen to the rhythm, and I just try anything that would sound good.
Are there any particular pedals that you employ to kind of make that little bit of distortion?
Yeah, actually I don't use practically any other pedals than wah, because like I said, as I've been every single time that I play, I've always been a rhythm guitar player.
Yeah.
So I always like that, I want to perform for the audience, and I don't want to be the guy who always has to step on a pedal or that I'm like, that's something off your performance if you have to push the pedals all the time. So I always only use maybe the boost. Usually it's the same sound that I have in the rhythm parts, but it's boosted and the wah. So it's only the usual distortion sound that I use, but it's only boosted. So
when you're putting a solo together, who do you think, who do you like, what are some of your favorite guitar solos that maybe you think are kind of stuck in your DNA that you hear come out?
Maybe your top 3 guitarists.
Yeah, like what?
Well, actually,
who's in your brain?
Actually, on the last interview, I mentioned Jimmy Page because well, Led Zeppelin, that type of guitaring, always stuck with me, because it's actually funny because when you see guitars, nowadays there are tons of great Instagram guitar players that play, fast, superior licks and all kinds of arpeggios and these kind of shit. But I always like that when you hold a note and feel it. I'm more that type. And also, I gotta say, Slash, his guitar playing is also pure feel, because he's actually not that technical. Of course, I gotta say he's a fucking terrific guitar player, but his solos are more feel than technique.
Yeah. No, I agree with
Think
you.
about November Rain,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
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 Very true.
Yeah.
So for lyrics, I noticed in your other band, especially the earlier records, there were a lot of songs, titled in Finnish. When
Yes.
you write, do you write in Finnish and then translate, or do you write in English?
I actually write, exactly in English, because I used to be able to write Finnish lyrics, but actually on TAKALAITON's full-length album Mind Infection, every single Finnish lyric is written by our bass player and singer also, Janne, because actually nowadays it feels so unfamiliar to write Finnish. Always when I get some text done, and I was like, this is stupid. But when I started writing English, it feels like, it has more sense. Because there's a big difference in writing in Finnish and in English, because I'd say in Finland, when you're writing in Finnish, it has to be more like a poem type writing. And in English, it's way easier. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking myself to a bag right now, but I think I would say it's easier to write in English because, of course, you gotta have you need to have a storyline in English songs also, but it's easier to pronounce what do I want to, inform with that sentence somehow.
Yeah, it's interesting. This friend of mine is a huge AC/DC fan, and we were drinking one night, and he told me something I never noticed before, that AC/DC were so intent on breaking America early on, they didn't say petrol, they said gasoline. They didn't say pounds, they said
Ooh.
dollars. And if you go back and listen to like Power Age, it's true. Like, they used American words.
Yeah.
No, and
Yeah, I
that like
never
blew my
actually.
mind. I've
Yeah,
heard those records a million
yeah.
times. I never thought about that,
Yeah, because they're Australian, there should be, more of the
Yeah.
lad speaking.
Right. Or well, they're from Scotland and then they moved to Australia. But yeah, they were
Yeah, actually, yeah.
they had the language down from the very beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I never thought about it. Yeah,
Isn't that
gasoline instead of
crazy?
petrol. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah. So anyway.
So I do love in this how you have some kind of more like relationship themes, like obviously you never
Yes.
cared about me, and then you have some like break the chain that seem a little more political or like a social commentary. I like how you just don't do one or the other. Who did kind of the evil laugh was that you at the beginning to break the chain?
Me. It was me. Yes,
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that was me.
Cool.
Because it's funny because it was more like a, kind of a voice opening tryout. And I was like, to the producer that should we take it off? He was like, hell no, it's great. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
So when you're
Came by
talking about
accident.
breaking the chain, is that kind of like breaking apart from society or norms, or what were you kind of going for?
I would say mostly norms. It's funny. I get this still a lot, from mostly. It's funny, mostly from my relatives who are like, yeah, it's great that you have this band and everything coming up, but stick to your day job because you've got it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm always like, yeah, of course, I'm not gonna, just release the album and get to my workplace like, fuck this, I'm out, not like that, but you gotta have plans, and as long as everybody is telling me not to do my thing but to do this thing, I'm like more like we'll see.
Yeah.
Mostly, yeah, the chain that has to be broken in my opinion is that don't let anybody tell you what to do, but because I've heard this from a lot of kids especially who are like my father has this business and I'm going to continue it, and I'm like do you want to continue it or are you like destined to continue it?
Yeah. I know. No, I hear you. Yeah, I had to ask you about the video for the run. So, who had the idea for the motorcycle kind of burnouts? And I was watching it and I was thinking, is he choking on that smoke? Is he able to sing over that?
It was a fun part. I had
Okay.
the idea. I talked with the president of the Trouble Stars, which is the club that we played in. I talked to the president that we're going to film this music video, but I would like to have some some petrol head shit on it because I'm a huge petrol head myself.
Right. Yeah.
So and I was like if somebody could do like a burnout at some point of the party so we could like film it, and then I came to the place and I saw these two motorcycles, lined up before the stage, and I was like, okay, so when is this gonna happen? And he was like, during your show. That was like, fuck yes.
That's great.
I really also like the video for On My Own, where you're just doing the
Yeah.
dramatic scenes where you're walking and with your guitar. And I was thinking, did someone maybe not know you were filming something and pull over and try to give you a ride?
Funny thing, when I'm standing in the lake, I'm like, it's not done by green screen. It's actually, I was standing on the lake. I had a small working platform,
God.
and there was this shallow piece on that, you know, in the middle of that lake. There's a lot of these places in Finland.
Yeah.
And I, you know, covered it up with this kind of black fabric that worked, you know, fucking, what's it called? You know, like a work stand or something. I put it on the water and I was like, you know, it's this much water on top. I was like, all right, I'm able to stand on it. And, you know, the boat left me in there with the guitar, and he drove to the island to get me off frame. And then I heard the drone coming. And that was a part where I was nervous, because I was standing there with my Gibson Jim Beam guitar. And I was like, you know,
Oh, wow.
one false step and I'm on the lake.
Yeah.
it was a scary part. And it's funny
That's
because
great.
a lot of people said that, you know, it's so wide. So where did you find this big a green screen? And I was like, it's not done by green screen, but a lot of people don't, you know, actually believe it.
Yeah.
That's a great shot.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's very symbolic of kind of like taking control of things and stalking off on your own.
Yeah, you got that right, because I was like, you know, it has to be some huge drama, you know, on that big solo part where, you know, people would actually, you know, get into their heads and, okay, now he got everything on his own, you know, that kind of thing, you know.
Tell me about Chiefs of Speed. Like, what does that song refer to? What is a Chief of Speed?
Chiefs of Speed. Oh my God, you guys are gonna love it, because I am a huge fan of NASCAR.
Yeah.
Yes, it actually, before it was released, it actually had an intro version also, which had that, you know, classic driver, start your engines, and then the engine rumble. But it wasn't that good, so I used that new version, which doesn't have that intro. It's actually, the song is about what goes through a race car driver's mind, you know, during the race. And, you know, I think that, you know, well, a lot of those lyrics were like, I was like, you know, this is pretty generic, but it's a generic, you know, fast going rock and roll song. So I'll let it go, you know.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with that. Yeah.
My father had passed a couple years ago, and my mom's like 80, you know, now, and she started dating someone who is really into NASCAR. And he took her to some place where she could drive the car, and she had the helmet on. She's sending me pictures. I'm like, oh my God, Mom.
80 years old. Yeah.
Yes, I gotta, you know, I lift my hat on that. You know, if you're 80 years old and you still get into if you still get into a NASCAR car, you know, that's something I wanna be when I'm 80 years old.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, what should we do?
So like, you ever, I don't know, if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend. Johnny Rod from Wasp has like a Facebook page, and he is like still eating pizza, drinking whiskey, playing his bass all day. Like it's still 1985 all over again. Like he never stopped. Like
total support, you know.
Yeah, it's always a party. Like, and you know, as soon as you watch it, you're just like, well, good for him. You know, like he doesn't care. He's just going to party until he passes out. You know, like
yeah. So he's like, you know, Chris Holmes on that document when he was on the pool.
Yeah.
Talking to her mom. Yeah.
Yeah. The middle finger back patch. The middle finger back patch that they both have. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. That was a good documentary. That was good. Yeah.
All right. We play our game?
Let's do a game. Yeah.
So we play a game on the show. It's called 5 Random Questions with Stace. That's me. So I have 100 questions in front of me. I want you to pick 5 numbers between 1 and 100.
All right. 5, 11, 22, 66, and 69.
Okay.
Smaller print for middle age. Number 5. Have you ever tripped and fallen in front of a crowd?
Have I ever tripped on what?
Fallen.
Tripped and fallen
Yeah.
on stage.
Oh, yes, I have many times. And it's actually, I gotta take it back a notch, because I usually now I have the wireless system on my guitar, but back in the day I did not have, and I still like to do a lot of running, around the stage, and usually I would trip on my own wire.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
But I've never broken any guitars, which is pretty weird because I've heard a lot of guys, and actually this one guy, he had this Epiphone Les Paul, and he had repaired the headstock for like 4 times. And I was like, how is it still playing? And he said that a couple of those times he didn't even fall. He would like trip on something and save it, but he would like just slightly hit it on his cabinet or something, and it's gone.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Big doll.
Horrible.
Yeah.
All right, number 11. Who would you dress up as at a comic convention? Like what character?
What character? Venom. These games straight out of the shelf.
Straight up. Straight up. Yeah.
I've been thinking about it. It would be so cool to dress up as Venom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a cool
that'd
one.
be really good. I agree with that one. 22. How many siblings do you have, and do you wish for more or less?
I have one, bloodline sibling, and that's my brother. And I have 3 stepsisters, that we have the same father, but a different mother. And do I wish for more? Probably not on this age. I'm close to 30, so it would be wild to have a newborn sister or a brother.
Well, my daughter's making noise about children because she's 30, so I'm like, oh God, here we go. Number 66. If you had a time machine, what time period would you least like to visit?
Least like to visit nowadays. Okay.
Don't need a time machine for that. Yeah.
yeah. But for past time, it's weird because I would like to see how this country looked like in the 40s, but there was minor issues back in the 40s in Finland, because we had that neighbor, which is actually pretty bad at that time, this time also. So
yeah.
I would say 40s, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely. All right, and you said 69. What are your feelings on taxidermy?
Taxidermy? What's taxidermy?
It's like when they stuff the animals, like the fox
After they're dead.
after they're dead.
They kind of make them
like,
stuff
or
like they're real.
like the owl, posed or whatever.
Oh yeah. I kind of I don't like it because, well, I would say this: it is okay if you would see at your own yard that, okay, this animal just crashed into my window and died. If you stuff that animal, it's kind of okay. But if you kill an animal to do that, that's
just
not
for
good.
that. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I don't like killing anything for fun, because that's mostly killing for fun.
That's funny. We interviewed Ron from the band Trouble, and he said, "My wife and I collect taxidermy." So he had them all over the house. Yeah.
But they don't do it themselves. They just go buy it.
They buy it. Yeah, but
Oh yeah. Well, on that case, well, of course, we're living in the 20s. You would have to say but you're still supporting it. But everyone with their own style. Who am I to judge anybody's hobbies? But in general, I don't like killing animals just to stuff them.
Yeah.
But if you find one and stuff it, well, there's nothing to cry about, I'd say.
Yeah. We used to joke about the movie Psycho, when she walks into the parlor and he's got all those attacking birds, and it's so creepy.
Yeah.
And the running joke for us was always, she's thinking, how is this guy still single?
Yeah. But yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it always comes to my mind, when I see stuffed animals. It's from the Ace Ventura,
Yeah.
where
Oh,
there's
yeah,
this,
yeah.
the room with a lot of the heads. Oh, what a nice house of death.
That's
You know,
another one.
but
Yeah.
it's funny you say that about your neighbor. I'm so bad at geography. I got into this Netflix show called Border Town. And it wasn't,
Yeah.
I was watching that show and I was like, oh, I'm so dumb. It's right there. And it took me to watching that show to put it together in my head. That was a great show.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because I live in the eastern part of Finland called South Karelia. So we are actually close to 40 kilometers away from Russia, which I'm not that happy about at this time, but
Yeah.
but I always lived here. So it's been a familiar thing for me since I was a kid.
That's awesome.
Maybe if Joseph Stalin's parents were a little nicer and like took him out to a puppet show once in a while, things would have turned out different, you know?
Yeah, has to be something, from the childhood with that guy.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I know you said you're planning on doing some touring, so that's great. I know you can't tell us about it quite yet.
Yes.
Is there a chance of getting you over here to the US?
Well, that's been a dream for me since I was like 15 years old. And actually, at this time, it would be way easier because there's no such, threats like COVID or anything, which would shut everything down. But it's always expensive to, get to North America or even close to it. But I'm planning on something because I think that, the major audience for this kind of music is in Europe and also in the States. So there's gotta be somehow some way to get in there, probably to open up for someone, bigger, or maybe, well, of course, there's always this coin toss. You just book the shows and you get there and see what do we have left when the tour is over, and usually it's depth.
Yeah.
But you just gotta live with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'd be huge in Japan too. There's so much, Japan is so rabid for rock.
Rock and
and
roll.
roll.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've heard also. But it's another another side where it's pretty hard to get because it's that expensive. But I have a lot of ideas in my mind because I thought that we could probably next summer we could do like a 1 week tour in Europe just to get a start. But also I'm trying to find a lot of booking agencies and these kind of people in the States that would kind of give me the chance that just to show that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, maybe a big festival and maybe a couple other shows would be a good break in too.
be
That
good.
way, you get lots
Yes.
of exposure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's funny thing because I actually sent an email to Rockville, which is in Florida. Still waiting for my answer, but hopefully they see this and answer me.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. We'd love to meet you in person. We could have a whiskey then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and probably yeah, we've been talking to close to an hour, but it feels like if we guys would meet, we would probably sit through a whole weekend just talking about shit.
Yeah. Exactly.
Feels cozy.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.